Hello there, chaps. It's rather a Vaseline kind of screen today. I think that there might be some grease. I can't quite tell on the viewfinder, but as you can see, there are lots of streaks on the Christmas lights there. But I gave him a little bit of a trim down here because my Christmas tree was so huge it was coming over the arm of my my sofa here. And when I go large, I do go large. And I've definitely supersized and oversized the Christmas tree this year, but I'm feeling very, very, very Christmassy, not festive. I'm very Christmassy, and yeah, lightening the mood and making it as colourful as possible. But the last few days, you know, have been slightly strange days. And I was writing earlier, I've done something slightly different, that I realized that I was spreading myself with all the different social media channels that I have, that I'm spreading myself all over the place, and probably leaving my viewers, including you, a little bit confused as where to go. And I've had an idea in my mind actually for the last few weeks of directing people to my website. But oh gosh, excuse me, bless me. Wow, that was a good one. A good sneeze. But yes, I've decided to create a big ecosystem and to get everybody moving towards my website. I'm going to be setting up an email list very, very shortly. But the whole point of directing people towards the website is so that you can see everything that I do and have it as a hub for all the various strands of my life, including my coaching services, my blog posts, obviously personal development related, and also a project for next year is my artwork site that will have photography on it for licensing, and canvases that I'm doing, lots of different projects, but bringing it all together, integrating it, which is something that I'm always looking to do. But when I was writing this morning, the last few days have felt quite heavy because I am at a massive turning point in my life. And the thing is, unless you have been completely blind for the last 5 or 10 years, or maybe even longer than that, we all know that here in the West, there is a massive cultural and political shift happening. And dear old whitey, old white skin up here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're not having a particularly good run of things. In fact, the mere act of our being born is being heavily demonized by some incredibly wicked and evil and manipulative people. And we can feel it. Things aren't quite the same as they have been in the past. We don't recognize our cities anymore. And it feels like things that were really ordinary and commonplace, they seem to have gone out of the window. And I actually tweeted this morning that I was actually watching an episode of Agatha Christie's Poirot with David Suchet, fabulous. But there was somebody in one of the episodes that used the phrase, "that's my name." And in my childhood, so in the 80s and 90s, we used to say, "Yeah, that's my name, don't wear it out." And I tweeted that phrase and saying, what happened to that one? You know, we used to use phrases like that, and they were a bit tongue-in-cheek, little bit fun, a bit cheeky, you know, and they were kind of sharp and witty retorts to, you know, somebody teasing us or somebody making a little bit of an off-color kind of comment. But we used to have a laugh about it, and I'm not diving into nostalgia here or anything, but when people feel really alienated, it can feel like living a normal everyday life. It can feel quite cumbersome, quite difficult. And I have been in this kind of mood for the last few days, being really contemplative, and something that literally as I was writing, that I'm 44 years old and I don't have any children, and it's likely that I never will, and my particular strand of the family name will end with me. There are other 𝐓𝐰𝐢𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫s in the world, quite a lot in the States actually, but there are some here in the UK as well. But my particular branch will yield no more fruit because my sister doesn't have children either. And I have been thinking about this a bit. It sort of occurred to me, and I feel a sort of sense of sadness and disappointment about not having children, because actually a lot of people have told me, oh, the thing is, Martin, you'd make a really good father. And I can see what they mean. I'm very nurturing and protective. I'm also fun and creative. And let's face it, come on, my children, they'd be good looking. They'd be handsome little devils. But they would have a spark. They would have a spark. And I am very affectionate as well. But I don't agree with gay people having children because they're always going to be deprived of one of their parents. And if you are having children, well, you sacrifice part of your life for their well-being. They become the focus. And I did think that in the absence of me having children, and believe me, particularly with what's going on culturally and politically at the moment, which we know is all fucked. I mean, all of the institutions and all the things that we've believed in, they've been exposed. The veil has been lifted, and we realise now that all of the institutions of church and healthcare and education and government, politics, all of this stuff, we realise that not only do they not have our best interests at heart, they're actively pursuing our demise. And I think if you can't see that, of wanting to send our children now, as they're talking about in the UK, of sending them off to yet more bankers' wars, well, you realise that there isn't goodness in these people's hearts, There's outright evil. And they can very, very apathetically just say, oh yeah, we've all got to get on this bandwagon, and we've got to be against Russia. There are millions and millions, and I reckon the majority are thinking, yeah, fuck off. We're not going to go and fight Russia. We're not going to go off and do that. But I do feel when I'm giving advice on this channel, that, and all the videos that I do, it's not lost on me the hypocrisy that I feel like I speak with, because I don't have children. I don't have, as people would say, skin in the game. I certainly have very good and noble intentions, but recently, thinking about children, I do feel a sense of responsibility that I'm, a sense of duty that I'm not actually fulfilling. I feel quite selfish and guilty about it. And I kind of felt quite contemplative about it, but also a bit forlorn about it. It left me feeling, rather heavy. But I did conclude, I don't know if this is a get out of jail free card or not, but I did conclude that in the absence of children, in the absence of offspring, that my legacy might be my words, and I want to spread my message as far and wide as I can. And I know that there's a lot more that I could do, more initiatives that I could become, involved with, that I could be a part of, that I could advance. I could campaign for various things. And I think 2026 will be a year of being far more proactive about these things, of of getting myself out of this kind of introverted, private kind of setting that I'm in. But I feel ready actually to take on some serious challenges. And we are facing demographic crises. We are facing political and cultural, paradigm shifts. And I actually really want to be part of it to make something immensely positive and wholesome. And frankly, as peaceful as I can. It's always my drive, is to be as peaceful and as prosperous as possible and to help as many people as I can. But I have been thinking about these various things: culture, politics, children, the big stuff, bigger than this Christmas tree even. But I want to have an impact, and I want to awaken that potential in as many of you as possible, in all of you watching, frankly, and as many people beyond the scope of my current following, because we have enormous and unfurling potential. And for a really good life to be led, we have to employ that. We have to use it. Another phrase we grew up with: use it or lose it. And we have the opportunity of doing it, as scary as it is. But I feel like I want to be a bit of a fire starter. I want to be a bit naughty. I want to ruffle some feathers. But I want to do it in a way that makes people realise that they're far more than they know. And they're more capable than they believe. And they have more promise than they might currently have in their minds. But as much as possible, I'm following this, my heart, and letting my head catch up with it. And it's a challenge sometimes, hard, and it can feel quite lonely, but there are many of us out there. And I do believe there is hope. I will always be an optimist. I believe we live in a beautiful world, and there are beautiful things and beautiful people in it. And as long as we can hold true to that, we can make a difference when we really put ourselves out there.